in 3, 2, 1. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mike here, and we're back for another amazing video. Now, as you can tell, we are here in the studio. I got my bike next to me, and we got a lot to talk about. It's been a really long time since I made a video, and there's reason for that, but most of it has to do with a lot of good things happening. There has been a lot of amazing change going on in the community recently. There has been a lot of change going on in my personal life. So today I wanted to give you a little bit of a recap of some of the stuff that has gone on in the past year or so. And I also wanted to talk about the future. There's a lot to talk about as far as the crew. The S3 crew, for those of you that don't know, is the name of the crew that I've started alongside a couple of many other friends. We call ourselves the Suicide Super Squad, and there's a lot of history behind that, and for those of you that have never heard of us, I'm probably sure that it triggers a weird thought in your head, but it mostly comes from the idea that Super 73 calls their own crew the Super Squad, and we wanted to be some kind of counterculture towards that, really, and we ended up taking on the name Suicide Super Squad because people always said, oh my god, the way you guys ride, you're gonna get yourselves killed. And we knew exactly what we were getting into, and we enjoyed it. So we said, yeah, sure, we're the Suicide Super Squad, and that abbreviated to S3. And along the way, we got to meet a lot of really awesome people, and every single day that I'm out on my bike, I'm having a great time. And when you're doing that alongside other people who are also having their own great time, some people make their own content as well. So it really meshed well with, just online social media in general. And yeah, I started meeting plenty of other awesome content creators. Some of those people are Mr. E. Johnny was somebody who reached out to us in our early days of the community. And, sometimes I tell people, if you're in our group chat, we have a group chat right now that's almost 200 people. And if you don't have a bike, there's no point of you being in the group chat. But Johnny didn't have a bike, but he still joined. And he was still one of the amazing people in the community that tried to help me when I needed him. And then he finally got a bike and he started making content, and now he's just this huge driving force in the community. It's amazing. I actually did an interview with him, so go check out his channel. There's going to be a link in the description. My interview. All right, it's a really, really great video. You get to learn a little bit more about me, and I can go into depth about my experience with the e-bike community, but that's not what we're here to talk about. What we are here to talk about is what happened over the summer. And God, a lot has happened over the summer. S3 as a crew, we started off with just about 5 or 6 people, and it very, very quickly turned into 15, 25 people. People really enjoyed what we were doing, and that was all pushed out there more because of my YouTube channel. Let's jump over here onto the computer so we can actually see that. So as you can see here, this is my YouTube channel, and right now we're sitting at a very nice 805 subscribers. And if we jump over to my content, you see I have a lot of e-bike content going way back. And a lot of these videos were videos that I was very proud of. I did put in a lot of work into them, and eventually some of them did start taking off pretty darn well. But I really started enjoying the friendship and the community of the rides more so than the actual content creation. So because of that, I decided to take a little bit of a break, and there was a long period between uploads. So eventually what ended up happening was people would recognize me outside. People would actually see me outside and say, hey, you're that guy, you're that YouTuber. People would also recognize my bike first. People would come to my group rides, and they would, sometimes people would show up to the group ride and immediately tell me that they knew me from my YouTube channel. Sometimes people would wait all the way until the very end and say, hey, by the way, I'm a subscriber. I've been watching you for this long. I saw you back when you were doing this. And, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. Man, I loved that so much. And, over time, I really started to build a good friendship with so many people. And I started talking with a bunch of different companies. One of those companies was Spark Cycles. So Spark Cycleworks, they reached out to me and we did a group ride a long time ago, and it was a hit. And, I got to try the Bandit for the very first time, and it was in its early stages. There was a lot that had to change with it, and they were so open to listening to everything I had to say. My Super 73 was a huge part of my content, and eventually I started gaining a reputation as being a Super 73 guy, but I didn't really like that. And I really didn't like how Super 73 acted like I didn't exist. So in the end, when my Super 73 did start having problems, whenever I interacted with the company, it was never in a positive way. I never felt like they were actually genuinely trying to help me, trying to better their product. So it left a bad taste in my mouth. And eventually, after 8,000 miles of riding, after picking up a whole bunch of new friends, after hundreds of group rides, after 2 huge community barbecue events that we had more than $1,000 raised each time, we've done countless giveaways, given away hundreds and hundreds of dollars of items away. A lot of different people started to pop up through that, and Spark Cycles was one of those people. They were there alongside us the entire time, and I really, really enjoyed talking with them, learning from them, and their bike just kept getting better, and it kept getting so tempting. And then eventually I ended up becoming an official brand affiliate. So now I not only have my own Bandit, but this is kind of like the test Bandit, and there's a lot that goes into that. So that's why I haven't done a full review of the Bandit yet, because it is so far from the usual. My bike is not going to be the same bike that you would get because of many different reasons, but we can break it down into this. There are the 3 main parts of the bike: the controller, the motor, and the battery. Then there's the frame and all the accessories, right? Looking at my Super 73, I changed out every single part on that bike that was, for the most part, purely cosmetic. I changed most of the parts on that bike to make it very unique, but it still performs as any other Super 73. My Spark Cycles Bandit, as soon as I got it, not only did I do all kinds of aesthetic changes to it, adding the rim tape, I added a couple of other details like the writing on the tires, all the chrome accessories that I put on here. I got these pedals over there. I'm sorry you had to look at my foot. But over time, I really made it visually an appealing bike. But on top of that, I also changed up a lot of performance aspects of it. As you can see here, I got these beautiful Magura rotors. These are 205s. And then over here, I have the MT5 brakes, quad piston brakes. Really overpowered brakes. But this thing was hauling ass. And it was way faster than my 73 right off the bat. But on top of that, Matt was working with me to give me a very special deal. So when you buy the Bandit, you can get 1 battery, and it will be this battery here. This is the battery that you'll get. It is a 48 volt, 24.5 amp hours. Now, this has changed. This is no longer the stock battery that you'll get. We'll get to that later. But just know that at the time, 48 volts, 25-ish amp hours. And it's a very good battery. Slots in onto the mount, and as you can see, I got a nice little 3D printed Koenigsegg Ghost on there. There's a lot of scratches on my battery because it's come out a couple of times, but that's neither here nor there. Most people got this. There's an option where you can get a second battery. And in order to have that second battery, you need to blend the 2 into 1 and Spark Cycles created a custom battery blender, and it's in a 3D printed enclosure, and you can plug in whatever voltage battery to whatever voltage battery, and it will constantly output a specific voltage. In the case of the battery blender that I have on my bike, it was blending this 48 volt, not with another 48 volt, but with an identically sized 52 volt 21 amp hour pack. All right, so this battery, as you can see, has the S3 logo on it. Very nice. That's another 3D printed part that I created. This is what was being blended. So not only did I have more voltage than most bikes, but I also had way more amp hours. I had some very impressive range. I had some great speed thanks to this thing, but mostly it showed up in just quickness, torque. I didn't get too much high-end speed off of this. I was very, very happy with that, and it worked really great. That blender, highly recommend it because it definitely made my experience very good. But the battery blender was just the beginning of why Spark Cycles started to really shine in my eyes. Not only were they creating some really awesome upgrades for their bike that were available to use on anything you could want, but they continued from there. So after I worked with them, after I got my bike set up, we set up the batteries, and I was the test dummy for the batteries. You know, I charged them myself. I made sure that I was really not giving them a break. I was running them down from 100 to 0, and I was riding all over the place. Everybody got to see how I was flying down these streets nonstop all day, and I loved it. But on top of that, when I said I added these brakes, these are some strong brakes. This frame was not intended for having such strong brakes. So in the end, we found out that we needed to reinforce some parts on the back. With no hesitation, I tell Matt my problem that I've been having. He goes out and he creates this custom aluminum piece that is a brace for not only the torque of the motor, but also the torque of the brake caliper as it's engaging. So immediately I was able to not only help with the development of the batteries, but I was also able to help with the development of reinforcing the bike. Over time, though, we get to the kickstand. This is unlike any kickstand you've ever seen, I'm sure. It's just a regular kickstand, but you see this metal piece right here? This is custom of Spark Cycleworks. I have a aluminum peg that's on here, but as you can see, it mounts your kickstand and your pegs in the same spot onto your frame on the swing arm. Now, this is fantastic because the regular kickstand was constantly breaking off of other bikes. You know, if you sit on your bike and you're having the kickstand down, you're putting a lot of force on it, and it's not going to withstand that. But in my case as well, the pegs were something that I seriously relied on, and, you know, I beat up my bike on these New York City streets unlike any other rider. And, you know, we found out that the stock swing arm couldn't stand up to what I was putting it through, which was 45-mile-an-hour downhills, hard braking, extreme potholes, hitting potholes at extremely high speeds, and eventually, you might be able to tell, but this entire assembly just came straight off. That's not going to work. And obviously, Matt wasn't going to have that. So, what did he do? Custom steel swing arm. And he welded it together himself. We're still in the trial period of this. But if you guys go on Spark Cycleworks' Instagram page, you'll see the whole entire video of the development of that. I can definitely say that I played a big role in the necessary torture that the bike had to go through to find out that it needed that much reinforcement. I still don't have mine in yet, so for now my bike is just kind of sitting here. But that brings us to the final step in covering the parts of the bike, the controller and the motor. Well, if I'm going to be getting a much heavier swing arm, much stronger swing arm that can go and handle much more, well then I might as well drop another couple of grand and upgrade the hell out of the rest of the bike. That's exactly what I'm doing. So, thanks to our friends at Powerful Lithium over in Jersey City, I'm going to be getting a custom battery made for this bike. It's going to be 72 volts, 50 amp hours. Huge, insane range. And on top of that, we're also going to put a 3,000 watt motor in here, as opposed to the normal 2,000 or 1,500 watt motor that they advertise. You can definitely push more wattage than that out of the rating from the motors. So 3,000 watts is going to push more like 4,000, 5,000 if we really let it. And it's only going to do that thanks to this thing. This is a Kelly controller. This is the stock Kelly controller off of the Onyx, and this was gifted to me by a good friend of mine named Riley. Riley is so kind to have donated this to me, and it's going to really start taking my bike to the next level because this is a 300 amp controller. The battery that I purchased is a 300 amp discharge battery, so this will pair very well with that. Later on, I'll be getting a stronger one, but for now, very, very excited. I hope you guys are, because it's not the end of this bike. On top of performance, we also have to have some sick visual upgrades and some comfort upgrades. This is my very, very beautiful custom JB Seats leather seat. It has this nice diamond stitching, custom designed back end over here. I worked very closely with JB for a very long time. Jerry is an awesome guy, and we got this sent out. The last step is going to be working with the guys at Inspire Cycles out in Jersey City. They're going to get my frame painted for me in a very secret color, but that is soon to come. So within a month, hopefully, I will have a very, very serious Spark Cycles Bandit, and my Super 73 is going to be just collecting dust. So for that reason, I'm highly considering selling my bike. If you feel like you want to purchase my bike, make sure you hit me up on Instagram, shoot me an offer, but it's going to take a good offer to really help me part with that bike, because I have a lot of sentimental connection to that bike. But this one is going to really be the one that I want to be riding. And I hope that you also will have the opportunity to try out your own Spark Cycles. So if you're ever in the city and you want to ride, or you just want to hang out, or you want to see what's up with the crew in general, make sure you follow us here on Instagram, S3CrewNYC. We got a lot of great content always going. We have all of our different rides, and you can catch up with the individuals in the crew as well as myself. As you can see, we also have my own Instagram page, Backup Mike. I got a lot of amazing stuff going on there, and it would really mean a lot to me if you guys gave us a follow on both of those. Spark Cycleworks, they have their Instagram page. Go there so you can check out their updates. All right, they have some really amazing updates on the Bandit here, so definitely worth checking out. Alongside that, for a topic of our next video, FranticTV. FranticTV is something that has been the more recent undertaking for the e-bike community, S3 crew as a whole, but also myself. Felix is a fantastic friend of ours. We're going to be doing a lot of content with him, me, Johnny, Richie, Jay, Manny, all of the crew. You know, we're doing many different things, and this is one of them. So make sure you go subscribe on YouTube. We got some great videos coming. I hope you guys are excited to see what comes of my Spark Cycles Bandit. I got one video out right now about the Bandit before it was out of service. I'm going to be making another video very shortly. I hope you guys are there. I look forward to seeing you guys very soon. Thanks for watching. Mike, out of here.